every pizzeria in New York City.
It looks like. Hey guys, welcome back. Today, me and Mike are welcoming a past guest on our show, Gianna Carly. She was actually a host of Hardcore Talents podcast as well, and we're so excited to welcome her back. She's also an affiliate of the brand, and if you guys haven't already followed her, you guys should, because what the hell are you waiting for? She's posting so many good things. And we're all excited to welcome a very special guest to the show. She's a TV personality. You may have seen her on Netflix's Tattoo Redo and also on MTV's Girl Code and many other cool things. She's also a host of several podcasts. She's also doing a bunch of cool things. There's also a cool initiative that we'll talk about after called Ask for L's. It's pretty cool. We'll get into that after. And she's also a stand-up comedian. Please welcome Jessimae Peluso. How's it going?
I'm freaking impressed.
Was that a good intro? Come on, you gotta come to some side. That was good.
Yeah.
I am so impressed. You know, for me, it shows that you care. It shows you did. I mean, how long did it take you? 10 fucking minutes? Can I swear on this? It's too late.
Of course you can. Yeah.
We were saying in the beginning
you go
we
on
should
these
do the
radio
intro.
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so great. And they're like, so tell me about yourself. It's like, is this how you are in your relationship?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nailed it.
No, I'm glad
job.
you appreciate it. We all put a lot of effort into this stuff.
Adam's got the best intros
Yeah.
every time.
I try.
I'm just saying it right
It's
before.
perfect. I'm gonna commission you to write my bio.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Honestly, it's such an honor and a pleasure. Seriously.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, anything for my fellow Pisons, truly.
Woo! I love it. I'm gonna jump right in right away because I'm low-key fangirling right now. From back into Girl Code days,
Yes, girl.
Jessimae,
Yes,
that
girl.
was a pivotal moment in my 18-year-old life, I must say. Going through like all, relationships, friendships, what now, and having Girl Code just confirm things or help me through my life. Oh my God. Fangirl.
I know.
Fangirl right here.
I
So
appreciate that. There's so many women who say that. And it's like, I think because it was its first time, like its first kind of programming at that time where we really dug into these sort of taboo subjects, and they were only taboo because they were having to do with women.
Completely.
But I didn't mean to cut you off. You were going to say something.
No, not at all. It's crazy because I feel like social media really wasn't as big, obviously, as it is now when it first came out. So I learned so many things on Girl Code that I now, find through social media, through Instagram, TikTok, what have you. But oh God, what a great show. Tell me about your time on the show and how you even got there.
Well, whenever anybody asks me how I got on Girl Code, I say 10 years of failure because it was me I was hitting the pavement in New York for that long, and it was just doing bar shows and bringer shows and barking in the street to get people into my free show underneath a bar, or doing audition after audition, working with Roger Paul. And you're not a real New York comedian if you don't know who the fuck Roger Paul is. Like, he'd send you 7 hours away for a gig that paid you 6 hot dogs. Like, it was a legitimate grind.
Yeah, as long as the hot dogs were good, right? If the hot dogs are good, it's all worth it. Man.
I was gonna say I'd take that pay. That's fine. All right.
And also, full stop. Okay, now do you see my forehead? Do you see the dick on my forehead?
Yeah, dude, what is that?
I love that this happened so soon. I'm a greasy Sicilian, like the greasiest Sicilian. And this is my forehead grease that I learned recently is the shape of a dick. So I'm like a dickhead when I get greasy.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it until you brought it up. But tell us a little bit about your Italian background, because I didn't really know. I was watching Tattoo Redo and I didn't really know you were Italian until I saw you on Instagram and I saw the fangul. Anna makes fun of me because I say fangul.
I say fangul all the time.
But
my favorite fucking word.
Yeah. I know, but I saw that post. I'm like, oh my God, she's Italian. So that's when we sent the message. It was kind of a while ago, but I was surprised when you got back. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your Italian background. I didn't know watching the show you were Italian, obviously,
Yeah, my dad was 100%. My mom was just a widely cast mutt. So many things. And my mother, I probably shouldn't say that came out wrong, but she's dead, so it's okay. So is my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He was from Palermo. His family is from Palermo, Sicily. And according to him, his grandparents his grandma was a Sacco, and her mother, so my great great grandmother, was apparently like this bourgeois woman in Sicily, which I don't even know like during that time and that era what that really equates to. All I know is somewhere down the line in my lineage there was a rich woman kind of running, I think, a like a brothel in
No way.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
No way. I didn't know
Okay.
that.
humble brag. I'm just here to humble brag. I come from really elite lineage.
Oh,
I
God.
have dreams of going and digging up Pelusos in Sicily, and it's something I'll do. I'm the type of person where if I think it and I want to do it, I'll eventually do it. I don't really believe in pipe dreams. I just think that's people who give themselves excuses not to do things. So it's something on my bucket list to go to Sicily and dig up what my actual history is and try and reconnect with Pelusos, because people hit me up all the time that are Pelusos. And sometimes I look at them and I'm like, what? Like there's this
Mhm.
Italian singer, Nathy Peluso, that I look at her and I'm like, are we related? I feel like we might be related. But
Odds
maybe just
are
because it's
there
the last name.
probably
Yeah,
is
but
Yeah,
some
it's
lineage.
somewhere.
You know what's crazy? I was gonna ask you because my mom. So I'm Calabrese, right? You
Yeah.
know the hard heads. I was just explaining, right? So basically, my mom was saying that Peluso. She thought it was when I told her I was interviewing you. She thought that was a Calabrese last name. I don't know why, but it's now that you're saying Sicilian, it makes a
It
lot of
could
sense.
be. It could there could, there's variations. People went everywhere. So
Yeah.
it could be um some Calabrese there too as well. I think the OG is always gonna be Egyptian. No Italian
Yeah.
really wants to say it. But the OG.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Egypt, honestly. The Mummy, Brendan Fraser, I kind of love it.
But no, I
Oh,
feel what you're
Brendan
saying.
Fraser. Whenever I see photos, I'm like, people are tearing him apart. I'm like, yeah, the man has lived a life. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a problem with this society. We equate success with the external image, like they're tearing him apart. Like, were you in the Mummy? I'm sorry, he was a heartthrob, and that will never not be a thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do know that Peluso, I looked up like the crest and the meaning years ago. Do any of you speak Italian?
Un poco,
Ooh,
un
ooh.
poco.
Yeah.
Un poco. Um,
Yeah.
it means pel is the prefix for hair,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
uso is many or large.
Oh, nice.
So
They always have
large
good hair.
hair.
Large hair.
My last
Love
name,
it.
it means big and hairy.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad know.
That's
Tell
my
your
kind of
dad.
woman, right?
Tell your daddy.
Yeah, but no, I feel like Peluso is kind of a common name. So because I know some Pelusos in
totally.
Chicago over here too. So
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It might be kind of hard probably to look into like who's exactly related and who's not because there's so many. I'm sure.
At this point,
You're
yeah, who
probably
knows?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we definitely, my dad definitely sustained and maintained like the Italian side of his tradition and heritage. Like growing up, we had very Italian Christmases and holidays. Like even though my parents were separated, we were able to experience my dad's world without any issue. That my parents they didn't go to court. There was no custody. They just separated and they let
Mhm.
us live our lives and be with each parent individually and together, however was best for us. So because of that, we were able to experience and maintain that Italian family. And on my dad's side, I have 46 first cousins on my dad's
Oh my
side.
God.
Wow. That's nuts.
I thought I had a lot. I have like
46
16.
Yeah, I think you got us all
first
beat.
cousins.
Oh my god.
Yikes.
But also too, you know what's cool too. You mentioned that you want to travel to Sicily eventually, right? This just to see your roots and everything like that. And I was gonna ask you, are you a big fan of the Godfather movies? Of course, being Italian, you must be somewhat in love with the mob movies, right? But if you are, you got to visit that restaurant from Godfather 1 when Michael Corleone goes to Sicily. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Please
So
tell me what you're
here's a
talking about.
full honest moment. And this is something that I think I might take to the grave, not as like a secret, but just as what it's become. I love mob movies. Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Martin Scorsese, from The Color of Money to The Departed. I think his catalog is amazing of what he's done with mobster stories and all of that, Italian and Irish alike. I have never seen The Godfather. And because it's such an iconic movie when it comes to like Italians in conversation. I think I'm
Mhm.
just never going to see it because I
Purposely.
enjoy saying it and people going,
Yeah, I know that was my reaction.
I just looked at all three of our faces, and all of us were like,
I know. I looked to it at all the
Hey,
people.
don't worry.
I
Listen,
get a
Jesse,
lot of,
Oh
I
my
won't hold
God.
it against you. Don't worry. You're the
Godfather's a
best.
classic. I don't know. That'd
but
be. I don't think you'll regret
Oh.
I
watching it, but
know,
maybe say you never saw number 2 or 3. You got to watch the first one.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm an honest woman, so I don't know. Eventually I'll probably see it just because I'm very curious about it.
Mhm.
But I will go and eat anything anywhere. So if there's a restaurant, I would probably go to the restaurant before I saw the movie.
I
Yeah.
think
I'm
it's a restaurant
such
or
a
a bar.
foodie.
I forgot what it is, but yeah, listen, every Italian loves food and stuff. I know me. I know I'm
Ugh.
skinny, but got a fast metabolism, but I do love everything
Hey,
carbs.
me too, homie. I eat all the time. Feed me all the food.
What's
I
your
love when people
favorite?
are like, you need to eat. I'm like, I do. You got
Yeah.
something?
What are your favorite type of Italian foods to eat? Like, did you even grow?
I
Did you
could-
grow up like even making like doing the Italian traditions like sausages, tomato sauce? Did you
Mhm.
do all that stuff too?
Yeah, my mom loved my dad so much that she learned how to make all that stuff. And she was just a, honestly, if I did the digging and what we think is my mom was, Eastern European, like maybe French, like that sort of blend of a white type of white.
Mhm.
Fair.
But she made a really, really good sauce and she would make tons of it and then freeze it. So we always had sauce in the house and she
That's the
she would
best.
put sausage and meatballs and like
Mm.
honestly, she learned all of that because she loved my dad and knew my dad loved that food. And there was this really great bakery in Syracuse. It's called Columbus Bakery, and it's where you go for bread. They make fresh bread every day. It's $2.25 a loaf. It doesn't change. Fuck inflation. Like maybe it's raised a little bit, but $2.25 a loaf. 4 fucking ingredients. It goes bad in 3 days, the way bread should be, and it's owned by Greek men. And it's just sort of this thing because it's in like the little Italy part of Syracuse, and we're like, okay, well, we like you. We like you Greeks. You do a good job here. And they're so hot. The sun is like 22. I'm like, I could teach you a thing or two. I could teach you a thing or two. You like
Awesome.
bacon loaves?
So Greek guys
Got an
out.
oven for you.
Jonna,
Good looking
isn't
men
there?
in general.
Yeah, Jonna, isn't there's someone that she likes that's Greek, isn't there?
John Stamos. I may have seen you talk about him once or twice. That's all.
Yes. I may have an affinity for Greeks. 2 of my exes were Greek. John Stamos was my first love, and he knows it. He
I
went
mean,
and
if
got
you-
married.
If you want to keep up the Peluso last name of hairy men, Greeks are the way to do it. That's what I gotta say. Greeks and
That's what I'm
Italians.
saying. You
Good point.
gotta carry on that hairy lineage. I need my baby to have hair on its ass.
You know what's so funny? When I was on your Wikipedia, it's so well known that you love John Stamos. That's on your fucking Wikipedia. Did you know that? It's literally on there. It's saying like it's been a
It's a
running
part
thing.
of you.
When I saw that, I was like, what?
Anyone who writes Wikipedia? I feel like it's just uber fans. I feel like it's people who are just absolute fans and they're like, they know everything they know more about you than you know.
I know, but the poor people,
True.
man. Like now they're putting these things up. Like, can you please donate 25 cents? And everyone's like, fuck no. Everyone's just scrolling past. They don't give a shit. I feel so bad. You know?
Donate
So,
to Wikipedia and puppies, okay? And Ukraine. Those are the places we need to donate right
Yes.
now.
absolutely, absolutely.
Nailed it. But Jesse, tell me a little bit about Tattoo Redo because I think it's cool watching the show. Obviously, these people who come in, their friends pick the tattoo, and the person doesn't know that they're gonna get like their friend's gonna pick it. So I feel like you have a really cool job because you got to convince these people that to let their friend pick the tattoo. Like that's kind of insane. They're getting something on their skin for life and they're not even choosing it. Like I feel like you kind of walk them through that process. Like it's kind of a big deal. If you didn't do a good job of that, they would be like, hell no, I'm getting the hell out of here, you know?
I
So
know.
how do you do that with people? Like it seems pretty crazy to walk someone through that.
I honestly, there were some tattoos when they were done. The pieces were huge, and most cover-ups have to be huge because
Yeah.
most people don't really get traditionally smaller tattoos are a newer thing. These more delicate, lined, unshaded tattoos I feel are kind of like a newer modern thing. But back in the day, even I Love Mom tattoo was big on your arm. So these cover-ups are huge and massive. And that was the shocking thing to me. It wasn't even so much that the person was picking, it was just that the sheer size of what they got it's covering a body part. Like it's like your whole
That's what I'm
shoulder,
saying. Some
your
of them
whole
are like,
stomach,
yeah, your full
your
back.
back. That gave me anxiety because, I have tattoos. You can't really see them. I have them all over. And I have had nightmares of like getting cover-ups that are just, my whole body becomes a tattoo. So that was the part for me that was sort of caused me a little anxiety. Like when it was done, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a big piece.
Yeah,
That is
true.
it's literally it's a work of art on your body. But I think that people were so hyped to be there and to be a part of the show that they really were gung ho for whatever, and there's another thing to like having adrenaline and not really, I think, even though it helps us survive, not all the decisions we make when the adrenaline is running are good decisions.
Definitely.
Not
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple people I saw on the show that were like, yeah, I was just, in a basement and this guy had a needle. And yeah, it was fun.
right, exactly. So many of those tattoos were
Yeah.
people who were at a hotel room or at a friend's house, or, oh, my friend started tattooing. And it's like,
Oh.
we wonder why the aliens haven't really made contact. Well, because you're letting Gary throw a skeleton on your abdomen in his garage, and it's his first go. Teeth are
I
hard.
know.
Are there ever any like BTS moments that you've had of someone showing that they're excited and, happy to have this new tattoo on camera, and then 20 minutes later after everyone cuts, they're like, actually, it's really big, or I really don't like it, or what the hell is that? Why?
I would bolt after we when they were like,
Yeah.
"All right, cut." I'd be gone because I didn't want to know that. And there was definitely a couple people who were just shocked, I think, by what they had. And I think also, like, going back to that point of like adrenaline, getting tattooed, like they sat for hours. These
Yeah.
pieces took time and they're being filmed, and they got breaks and everything. They definitely were treated well, but still that's a lot to endure. And so I think that they just were so pumped and at the end still act excited, but there were a couple that were like, what is
And
it?
yeah, I know there was like
Yeah.
there was one person in particular. They were like, "I'll take anything. I just don't want a rose." And then the best friend was like, "I'm giving her a rose" or something like that.
Yes.
Like literally the one thing she named, like the best friend just did it anyways. It was like, I'm like, oh my god, she's gonna hate it and stuff. But yeah, I mean, they're such good tattoo artists, so it's got to be like you're getting something better. Like you were saying, if they're just getting it in the garage or something like that, then compared to the tattoo artist you're getting, you really can't go wrong.
Yeah. Whatever you're coming in with, you're going to leave with something that is going to be a conversation piece instead of the conversation being, what the fuck is that?
Mhm.
They're going to be like, wow, who did that? That tattoo is amazing. Like it's more of it becomes art instead of your mistake. I think that was a cool part of it. And I became friends with these tattoo artists afterwards. We keep in touch, a lot of us. And I learned a lot from the industry and about the industry, and got to watch these people create something. I mean, you're going over a tattoo that's 20 years old, and you have to create a piece that goes along with it but hides it enough, and it's so
Yeah.
technical. It's so very technical. And I actually got to tattoo Rose. Her and I hung out in New York in October, and she gave me a piece. I don't know if you can kind of see it right here.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
It's an
That's
owl.
dope. Yeah.
And so she tattooed me when I was in New York, and she allowed me to tattoo her. I only did a heart because I had a fucking panic attack. I was like, I can't do that. It seems
Oh.
so easy. But when you actually put the needle to someone's skin, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill you.
Oh my, but it's cool because the show, because you mentioned you became friends with all these people on the show, and you made a bet with your producer. I was reading about online that the show would be a hit, it'd be a success. Now, like, why did you think that from the very beginning? Like, was it just like your instinct? Was it just like you saw the way the show was progressing? Like, what made you think like so highly of the show? Like, why did you think it was gonna be a hit?
I'm an eternal optimist. And that's what has kept me going through life. It's not to say that I don't experience lulls and adversity and challenges, and I take time to absorb what that means for me, and going through changes and flux in my life. I certainly have. But I think because of what I've been through and the type of parents I had, that's just how I think about experiences in general. Just going to the fucking grocery store, walking my dogs, waking up. Like I honestly, I'm filled with this gratitude and this excitement to see what the day is going to bring me. And I approach each project that way because I feel like you are what you think, you know. We are our beliefs, and our beliefs create the world around us. So I wanted that for him. I wanted him to have a successful show, and I wanted the set to be fun, and the crew to have a good time, and for me to make these connections. That's how I feel in life. That's how I am in life. And, you know, I don't know if you know this, but I just say it because I think people can relate to it. During the filming of that show, my mom became really sick. She 2 days in, so we started filming on my birthday. Like a day and a half later, she was in the ICU, and she never left the ICU until she passed away. So during the filming of that show, I was losing my mom. And
Wow.
and I think because of that, the show kept me anchored. It kept me it made me have a purpose. And I think so many people in life get lost because they don't have a purpose. And I think that show really sunk into my soul in that sense. And even more so, I wanted to make it amazing because if not, what is all of this for? What is, you know, everything we're doing for? So I think that, you know, all of that considered, I just wanted to, I want life to be as magical as I know it can be. I've been that from a very young age, you know, and losing my parents definitely instilled it deeper in me, but my parents raised me that way.
No, absolutely. And even what the thing that I like what you said about that, even this idea of manifestation, right? It's very,
Hmm.
I'm a big spiritual person too. And, you know, I grew up with friends that who, you know, they, not to shame what they do, but they just have like, you know, a normal job. They just like, they thought to themselves, I'm not going to pursue passions because I'll do them as hobbies and everything. And I was always the type of guy to do things. Sorry, my camera's about to cut out. 1 second.
Get right back on it.
All
You got
good.
it.
There you go.
Whoa, different angle.
Look
Fun.
at that, eh?
Just trying to
I know
impress
what is a shock. I know. But anyway, what I was saying was that they always, whenever I told my mom to become an actor or something like that, they would always be like, "Oh, that's so far fetched." But what I like what you said, it was that you just have to find a purpose. It was your purpose to even just be yourself and to just pursue so many things. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show that you have like you're a host of several podcasts. You know, you're on MTV's Girl Code, Netflix's Tattoo Radio, all these cool things. So that was gonna be like my next question too.
Yeah, I
Like
feel like
doing
that
all these things.
explains. I feel like that explains why you're in all these podcasts and stand up and stuff like
Yeah,
that. You're just, you know, you have a positive outlook. Let's do it. Let's go. You know,
yeah.
is that how you started getting into all these different things? Like, how'd you first start getting into comedy, and
Yeah.
like, how'd you know you were gonna just start putting yourself out there and doing this kind of stuff?
I I first got into comedy, I think because of my sister. Um, she was my first audience member, you know, and there was some chaos in the house. My parents, they separated, so obviously it wasn't the best union. But I'm not like some crackhead, so obviously they loved us enough so that we were kind of sheltered from the real truth of what was going on with them. But
Mhm.
I developed a sense of humor as a way to connect and cope for a reason. And I think I kind of developed it to be the glue in the household to sort of ease all of the unease. And in that process, I was entertaining my sister. She was the only other person who I could relate to. And I would just tirelessly do things to get her to laugh. I would do this one thing that she still asks me to do today. It was called the closet lady. And I'd go in my mom's closet and I would put on like one of everything. There'd be like a wide brim hat and an umbrella and one rain boot and a high heel and a dress and a jacket and like a jersey or something and some other random item. And I'd come out and I do this like whole act for her.
Hmm.
And she would just die laughing. And I think that's where I really developed like a love for physical comedy because that's what made my sister laugh. And I battled through when I really started to do stand up when I was like 18, 19, I battled with that because there's such a highbrow mentality in every industry, but especially the arts. Like, oh, you don't do it this way. Well, it's not really art. Oh, you're a physical comedian. Well, it's not really comedy, Seinfeld, but it still is. It
Yeah.
still is. It's a spectrum. And that's a beautiful thing about anything you create. I always think of Tina Fey. She said, and I love this quote, she said, just because you decide something isn't good doesn't mean it's empirically not good. You just don't like it. And so I had to really step into that and step into my comfortability with my physicality. And it's really what I enjoy doing. And it's because of my sister. And I struggled through, my beginning years in New York City where I was doing stand up, what I was mentioning before, with all the barking people in and open mics and all that shit. I really struggled with wanting to be this brainiac, which I was and I am. I'm educated, and my mother was a very educated woman and loved reading and was very encouraging in that sense. But I also was a goofball.
Mm-hmm.
So I teetered that line, and I found like a nice sweet spot in the middle now, 20 years later, where I'm comfortable using big words that I love and dancing around like a fucking crab on crack. Like that's my brand.
I think that's one thing though that's really unique and special to you, and not a lot of people have that, where they can be completely themselves on all platforms. Because now I've listened to all your podcasts, I've listened to you being on other people's podcasts, I've watched Tattoo Redo and whatnot, and you're just you. Like, I feel like I already know you as a
Yeah.
person, and you put it all out there. And that is so special to find nowadays. So I really admire you for that. That's incredible.
I appreciate that, because I like that, when I watch people perform or anything that is like stand-up comedy, a type of stand-up comedy show, I want to know who the person is.
Mhm.
There's one thing about learning how to be funny, which I made a joke about Seinfeld. He's so talented. He's like one of the greatest stand-up comedians of our time. But there's a spectrum of comedy, and I feel like I've always said this, and I'm not saying like I'm some historian on how things are ran or how things are done and there's one way. But in my mind, my experience and understanding of stand-up comedy as I know it, I've been in the industry for over 20 years now, is
Mhm.
like the spectrum of stand-up comedy is Seinfeld on one end and like Richard Pryor on the other, and everyone else in between. Seinfeld being a man who understood, and I don't think anyone is comparable to him, has understood how to structure a joke so that there's no fat. All the words are useful, and it's a perfect joke.
Yeah.
But there's not really any blood, sweat, or tears in it for me. And that's what I like. I'm not saying he's a bad comedian, because obviously he's a great comedian. He's very successful. But then you go to the other end of the spectrum and you have Richard Pryor, who literally set himself on fire.
Mhm.
And who was a man who wrote a joke about how a woman's pussy talks. And who was a man who was sweating by the end of his set. And I was like, oh, you can do that?
Mm-hmm.
That's also comedy? So to me, realizing that there's all these different styles is where you can just say fuck it to the people who tell you how it should be.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how do you like
Totally.
find time to, like, how did you get into this rhythm where you are able to manage all these different things that you do? How did you end up doing that? Because for me, it would stress me the hell out, to be honest with you.
It's definitely still an exercise, for sure. It's definitely something that I'm constantly trying to find balance with. And the more I talk to people who I admire and my mentors and people that I've aligned myself with, they say the same thing. And finding the consistency is, I think, what you're talking about, is
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
able to be consistent enough to keep all these things going. And the one and only thing that keeps consistency going is discipline. And discipline's a really difficult thing for a lot of people, myself included. I've had to really create an environment for myself that from the moment I wake up sort of tackles my weaknesses. It tackles the things that I'm not so strong at, which for me, I have high anxiety, which for some reason, Adam, I feel like you do too.
I do.
And
do.
I bet
I really do.
I bet I bet Gianna does naturally, because she's a woman. But Michael seems like he's just chilling. Michael's just kind of chilling over there.
Yeah, I'm kind of chilling today.
She-
I don't
she's
know
good
if I
at reading.
nailed it.
See,
I
Jessimae's
think
good.
you nailed it.
She can read people really well, honestly.
So Adam, I can
True.
sense like the most anxiety probably from you, but for me, I'm a very anxious person. So I know that's going to be my number one challenge in the day is my anxiety. So anxiety really is just excess energy that hasn't been diffused. It's energy that hasn't been utilized. And where does energy come from? It comes from our bodies and it comes from our minds. And so how do you combat that? Well, with your mind, we know now how vital meditation is and how it literally works. It physically changes your biochemistry and it changes your brain chemistry and your heart rate. So the first thing I do is I meditate before I even look at my phone. And some days I get on that social media and then I'm like, what are you doing? You got to meditate. Meditate first. And then I take care of my dogs. And then I work out every single day. And those things sort of help me manage the things that keep me from being consistent. So that's how I do it is I tackle the things I know are going to get in the way first. And then boom, I've done my meditation. I feel grateful. I feel present in the moment. I did my little workout before I got on with you guys. Did that booty, get my booty high and tight for when Brad Pitt becomes my husband. So I feel like really
I'm
Yeah.
giving up on Stamos now.
no, listen,
Hey, but-
Stamos had a chance. He had a
Oh,
chance. So he was really sweet. We've always like, I'll tweet about him throughout the years. Gianna knows if she's known me for that long, I send out tweets and he'll tweet back or whatever. But so he knows we have mutual friends. I'm really close with Jeff Ross and him and Jeff Ross are tight. And obviously with the most recent passing of Bob Saget, that's
yeah.
been something that's been in the news a lot. So
Mhm.
I reached out to him and just told him how sorry I was because when my dad died, he left me a really nice message and took some time out of his day to just reach out to me and my friend Yamanika was working on the historical roasts that Jeff Ross did. I don't know if you guys saw them. They were hilarious. Saget actually played Abe Lincoln and my friend Yamanika
Oh my
played
God.
Harriet Tubman.
Oh,
That must be classic.
And while they were filming was when my dad passed. And so Yam called me, FaceTime me, and Stamos and her. Stamos was I forget what character he was. Oh, my ex-husband. No, he was I forget what historical character he was. Maybe John Wilkes Booth. I
Okay.
feel like he was John Wilkes Booth, but they both were just, he
No
just
idea
said
who
how
that is
sorry he
anyways.
was and he was so sweet. He was so sweet. Yeah, but he's in the back burner for now.
We won't
It's
forget.
Jason
Yeah, it's
Momoa.
nice
Let's
one.
be real.
Always
It's
an option.
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa all day, any day,
Bitch.
forever.
Bitch. I don't care that he has a man bun. I will oil and grease
Oh,
that
are
thing
you
and wrap
kidding?
it up at night.
Who, Jason
The
Momoa?
longer the better, the hairier the better.
Wait,
Hell yeah.
Aquaman? Or are we talking about Aquaman here?
Yeah,
Yes.
Aquaman.
Why did you have to bring up Aquaman? Okay. It may not be a fan favorite or critic's choice, but
Well, did you ever see Entourage? How about Vinny Chase's Aquaman? Come on, he's a real Aquaman.
I mean, I wasn't a huge Entourage fan. Not
Oh,
not that I
no.
didn't like it. I just because when Entourage was on, Sex in the City was on. And
Yes, okay,
Entourage
that's
was
true.
The males' Sex in the City. Entourage was definitely their demo were men.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
fair.
Yeah, definitely,
Sex
That's
in the
definitely fair
City
to say.
Correct. Correct.
was my shit.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's only because if I had my swinging schlong, maybe in my next life when I come back as a man
Who knows?
with my sausage cock, I'll watch it.
Tell me a little about too when
Oh my
that you were
God.
on Joe Rogan because I thought it's crazy. You guys were just talking like real deep about the brain behind serial killers and all this stuff. Like, I don't know, how'd you get into like learning all about this about the brain and all that kind of stuff?
Honestly, it was because of my dad. He got diagnosed. I say Alzheimer's because Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia, and
Mhm.
dementia being the umbrella term that sort of delineates between like 10 or 12 different types of dementia, but Alzheimer's being the most popular. But my dad actually didn't have Alzheimer's. He had vascular dementia, which is a much more aggressive form of it. It comes on kind of quick. It could be brought on sometimes, I think, by a stroke or an accident. So we had to learn because the disease normally, like with Alzheimer's, people have an average of 5 to 10 plus years that they're dealing with this disease. It can be a really long game, and usually it is a very, very slow burn, and it's brutal. It's kind of like Lou Gehrig's disease or Parkinson's in the sense that it's irreversible. There is no cure, and it's a one-way train to a stop of inevitability being them losing all motor function, knowledge of who they are, where they are. So it's a really brutal disease. And to deal with it longer or shorter, I don't know if there's any sweet spot. But I think that our silver lining for us was that from diagnosis to my father passing away, it was only about a year. So, yeah, we didn't have to suffer with him slowly slipping from us, but we also struggled in dealing with it because the stages evolved so fast that as we were just sort of adapting to where he was at, he was on another level or down a level, really. So I struggled because as a comedian, naturally my life makes its way to the stage. Like Gianna was saying, how I am here is eventually it's who I am on stage. There's a little delineation just to protect myself and to have some space from what I do, but other than that, it's very much who I am. So while I was going through the process of losing my dad, I really struggled with being able to process it the way I needed to, which is on stage. And I struggled with it because it evolved too fast. I couldn't write the joke. I couldn't settle into the joke and develop the joke because then he was on to some other area where I was losing him and not knowing what this was. And so I had to abandon everything in order to just be able to be present with him as much as I could. And it was really difficult for that because of how fast it was and because I was on another coast. I was in LA and I was flying home 2 times a month back to Syracuse just to be with him and try to be supportive and present. And I chose to learn about it. I chose to learn about the brain, associate myself with neurologists and neuroscientists and nutritionists and more progressive ideologies like stem cell research and psilocybin and its effects with the brain and just these more progressive people and doctors who are really elite in their field. And luckily because of the profile I've built for myself, I had access to these people. I was able to reach out through Instagram, and that's where Instagram is this amazing tool, even though you're like, okay, another whatever Kardashian this and blah blah blah, whatever it is, like there's candy and there's apples on Instagram. And for me, I've been so fortunate to have these people that have been like, yeah, I would love to talk to you and show you what's going on or give you some resources or education. And that's really where my desire and my passion for the brain came from, was because my dad's brain was falling the fuck apart. And there's this one moment in his disease where he was probably the last moment where he was as lucid as he was ever going to be. And it was such a prolific moment because he was able to articulate what was going on in his mind. And that's one of the biggest issues with this type of disease, in Parkinson's as well, and Lou Gehrig's, but Alzheimer's and dementia specifically, because our brain is a lot like the universe in that it's engrossed and it's encapsulated in this darkness, and we can only study it from afar. We can't really get in and discover what it's like and what's going on in there the way we can with other organs. It's usually posthumously that goes on. When people die, can they look at the brain? And even then, they're not seeing it firing. They're not seeing what's going on. And thoughts aren't really a tangible thing. And the things, the firing of the neurons and the synapses, it's such a intangible, magical organ that it's really hard to study. So, it's a unique thing to try to learn about. And my dad was in this moment where he was trying to articulate what he was feeling and thinking and imagining. And he just was in this restless place in his life, like literally sitting down. He didn't want to sit down. He stood up and then he stood up and then he sat down. Like it just was like he was in this constant flux in his mind where he couldn't relax. And I honestly, I just imagine like a short circuit. like a wire
Mhm.
in water, like an open wire in water where it's just like literally short circuiting and firing and the
Yeah.
connections aren't being made. So it's basically like writing a note on a piece of paper and turning it into an airplane and throwing it, and it's just zip zip zap all across the air, and it doesn't go to anybody
Mhm.
because the connections in the brain where the synapses go into are completely blocked by these tau tangles and these beta amyloid plaque buildup. That's why they're firing and not going into any dock, because the dock is blocked and it's clogged. So it's like thoughts that have nowhere to go. And that's why they sound so crazy. And he was able to articulate, he said, I just, my brain is like on fire. He said, I can't get a hold of the chaos in my mind. And I
Mhm.
thought that was just, I remember that like sort of taking the air out of me, because I felt so helpless, because I knew that none of us were going to be able to get a hold of the chaos, that it was going to go into a, a place where he wasn't even going to be able to say anything. And that was like, so the feeling of helplessness was just so brutal to handle. And in that moment, I was like, I need to learn about this. I need to,
Mhm.
however I can help, like sharing things that I've learned and things that I know are stigmas. Like the one thing I'll say is, and not to dwell too much on it, but because we have a platform, and a lot of us Italians, we are sanctimonious about our family.
I was just gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say thank you for sharing, because just all the stories we get in from people just saying, "Oh my God, thanks for this post because it reminds me of my grandmother passed away, this or that, or parents." Like Italians are so close to their family. A lot of people get very depressed, and it's real. So I'm glad you're sharing this story. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a beautiful thing about all different cultures is, and maybe it's something that is lost in like the traditional American culture, but maybe not, there's probably aspects of it, but that sort of extended family and having your nonna or your grandma or your papa or whatever in the house with you and be a part of the family traditions. Like that was how we grew up. We
Mhm.
always had our family around us. All our family was together all the time. And so it's important for people to know what's going on with their elderly family members. And the one thing I'll say that I learned is that dementia has become this common thing. We call it old timers for Alzheimer's. That's what we've called it traditionally in this society and in other cultures. And that is saying that it's expected and normal for a person to lose their mind. And it's not. It's a complete disease. It's an inflammation of the brain. It is caused by environmental stress. It is caused by poor diet. It's caused by personal, emotional stress. It is literally something that is caused by a factor. And that's the one thing that I want to say to people is it's not normal. It is not a normal part of the aging process. And I hope in my lifetime that we see, I don't want to say a cure. And I say that because if we need a cure, the disease is still present. I want prevention. I
Mhm.
want education on how to prevent. And that's what I do. That's where I come in and try and, you were talking about the alts tips and ask for alts. Ask for alts is like my little mini Instagram campaign that I post once in a while where I thirst trap people with my booty and I put
Genius, by the
Alzheimer's
way.
information.
Genius. I was looking and I was like, okay, I have literally no ass. Like my ass is almost inverted. It's that tiny. But I want to participate. Can I just post a picture of my lame ass? And
That's a great idea. I should involve other women.
oh my God, use
That'd be
me. Like
that
if
would
you're
be
like,
smart.
even if you have no ass, please
I'm
ask for
gonna start
alls.
doing, girl. I'm gonna start doing some like call outs to girls to send me their ask for alts photos, and I can
No,
add the information. That's
yes.
genius.
No matter the size, like it matters, And
Yeah, I can do like a whole slide, a bunch of bitches just look at all these booties. Now read the information.
that is so smart though. Like that was a great way to really reel people in of like, oh my God, another ass pic. Let me look at the caption. And then yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Also, how you were saying too that Instagram is, you know, obviously a lot of people talk about it, but it really is a great platform to get that information. And how you said you were reaching out to doctors and others to learn, but you're right there also doing the opposite of teaching others what you learned too, which is huge. You have a great platform with a lot of followers and a lot of people who can learn so much from you. And I think this disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, is one where if people can't physically see it, they don't necessarily like think about it much or really consider it a disease like you had mentioned too, which is
Yeah.
hard.
That's a really good
Yeah.
point. It is, and people really should pay attention to it because it's another number 5 cause of death in our country.
Mhm.
You know,
Wow.
only second to like heart issues and diabetes and that sort of thing, both of which can lead into Alzheimer's. And a lot of it comes down to our environment here and what we eat. And man,
Mhm.
it's so hard. It's so hard because some foods that are the worst for you are so delicious. But it's the
Yeah.
way we process our foods in this country that really cause the problem. Because you go to a place like Sardinia or, you know, like these little smaller towns in Italy, and people, it's a blue zone. People are living over 100 years old and very with it and apt and able to have a life that's full. So, you know, we have to really look into how we're living, and it takes compromise and sacrifice. But you know, I think we owe it to ourselves, especially if we are people who want to have a family and people around us. You want to be able to have an enjoyable time, you
Mhm.
know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would much rather have my dad here doing fart jokes and his semi-racist jokes because it comes from a different time. I'd rather have that here in my corner than not. So I want to be able to give that to other people. And I do
Yeah.
it with my booty.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And even like with like the stuff we're doing with your comedy stuff, I know like Mike mentioned about being on Joe Rogan and stuff. Like obviously him too. Like that conversation you guys had, I watched it too, and I was so blown away because I was first off, I barely understood a lot of this stuff because it was so like it was so intense and like so. But I ended up learning a lot of things, right? Because when you really sit down and because it all stems from curiosity. I think when people watch, which is a fact. A lot of people probably didn't understand a lot of the technical words you were using, but then you research it, like I did too, and you understand, and you end up being more educated on. You go, wow, I didn't know about this. Maybe I should really take more of initiative to have a better lifestyle, and then that progresses to other people. I think nowadays with people's lifestyles, they're starting to take into it an account more because especially with I know my grandmother and my nono had they both had dementia, so or Alzheimer's. See, I always get confused with Alzheimer's and dementia, which is the difference with it, but they had the same type of condition, right? And they passed away.
Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, yes.
Yes, yeah. So that's what they had. And even just like I said about Joe Rogan too, how he's very knowledgeable on that. I'm sure being on his show, you probably, even though you're so knowledgeable on it, you probably learned from him. I'm sure you learned from other
Oh
people
my
as well.
God.
And you spread awareness like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Dr. Rhonda Patrick, who he's had on tons of times. I learned a lot from her, from diet and, you know, the ApoE4 gene that is sort of like the biomark precursor to Alzheimer's. And, you know, he's got Huberman on there, Dr. Huberman. And like what Gianna was saying, like even through Instagram, being able to connect with, there's a really great Italian doctor, Dr. Lisa Mosconi, who wrote, I believe it's Brain Food,
Mm-hmm.
which is all about, you know, she created Alzheimer's like a preventative program
That's
because there
awesome.
wasn't one in existence. So she created one because she was also dealing with it with her family. I think her grandparents had it as well. And she's this amazing doctor. And Dr. Daniel Amen, who does these SPECT graphs, it's like single photon emitted computer tomography. And I think it basically takes a image of your brain and it shows you the areas of your brain that are like asleep. And he did it to my brain, and he showed me parts of my brain that needed to work better and why I was acting a certain way because this part of my brain wasn't really activated. And there's so much to learn. The brain literally is the most fascinating organ, and it's the it's the CEO of our existence. It's the fucking
But
captain.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the
it is.
fucking Beyonce. It's the Beyonce of our body.
Beyonce, where's the album?
Where is it, bitch?
uh,
But yeah, I
but
just educated myself out of curiosity, and really just loss is an amazing motivator. When
yeah,
you're losing something or you lose someone or whatever it is, loss for me is a really amazing motivator. And it, it's it's something that we all experience, and it's something that most of us don't know how to deal with. And it can be detrimental to our growth.
Yeah, exactly. I feel
But
like
if we allow it to be a gift, it can really be amazing.
yeah, because I feel like a lot of people get depressed and whatever, they sit and mope around, but you kind of, I feel like you take the opposite and you kind of just do things and want to honor it, and I think that's a great way to get over it. And like you said, it kind of make it so it's more worth it too, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Make
Yeah,
it so
and-
it counts.
yeah, exactly.
And I definitely felt, I've definitely gone through a depression. I've definitely felt depression. You know, my dad's loss was really heavy, and that definitely took me down. And I didn't even realize that I was depressed until I was with Tony Robbins and
Really.
going through,
Yeah, that guy's a legend.
and
Yeah.
working with him. And I was like, oh shit, I was fucking
What
depressed for a little bit.
was it?
It-
Just one of his like conference things, or met
Yeah,
him,
he
or-
invited me to be a guest at his UPW, Unleash the Power Within, and I didn't know what to expect. You know, I hadn't really met him before, and one of my friends was working with him, and he invited me to be a guest, and it ended up being like this really transformative experience, like something that I thought was like, oh, what's this gonna do for me? Okay, a motivational speaker. All right, snake oil salesman, but no, he's just somebody who really loves helping people, and he's
the
an
real
amazing
deal, yeah.
strategist. He's a real deal, and
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. Like, it takes having access and learning from people who have exceeded and excelled and have gone through similar situations. So many of us think we've got it figured the fuck out, but the more humility we have about ourselves, the more we can get out of our own fucking way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
You know?
and I know you have to go in the next 5 minutes. I feel bad for running over
Oh
time.
yeah, I didn't even know what time it was.
I apologize. But we want to
No,
do one
it's
more
okay.
thing. We want to do one more
Carly's
thing.
texting me, Gianna.
Before we end
Love
off, I
it.
want to do something really fun because I know that obviously with Tattoo Redo, such a big show, I wanted to show you 3 really
Oh,
bad,
God.
funny tattoos. I wanted to just get your opinion on it and to see if
Okay.
maybe even just to get your reaction because I was dying at these yesterday. So this is the first one. Homer Simpson's face on an ass.
Okay, that can't be real.
It is.
That can't be real. Okay, my first gut reaction is that's a waste of a good ass. But my second gut reaction is, what does he look like when she farts?
Oh no! Oh, yeah, but how does he talk? Then?
Like,
How
does he talk? Can she make it clap? Because if she makes it clap sideways, and her
I think-
boyfriend
I
or
think-
girlfriend,
I think that's a guy's ass, though. I'll be honest with you.
is it?
Oh my
I think it might be a guy's ass. Yeah.
Oh, well, she's got a good ass and he's got a good ass. Well, that makes me even more confused because it has a very feminine flow. I think it's a waste of a good ass, no matter if it's a man or a woman. I don't know why
Yeah.
you do that.
I don't know if you could
Well-
redo that
Well,
one
when
either.
people watch the episode, it'll be edited on the screen. You'll see the hair in the crack, so it's pretty disgusting, actually.
Kinda
Okay,
gives-
so it is.
Ugh.
Kind of gives a reason to like show off your ass a little bit more, though. I don't know. It could be like,
Don't,
Isn't an
don't-
ass
don't-
enough reason? Is it just
True.
having an ass?
Yeah,
True.
literally.
true.
Here's the second one. This
I'm
one is just
scared
his
now.
face. His face just says it all.
No. Oh my God, he looks like my grandma's kitchen floor.
He looks like he's gonna play music on a chessboard. Look at
No, he
his
looks like the
face.
floor in every pizzeria in New York City.
It looks like, you know what it looks like? It looks like he regretted the tattoo, but his face, it's like,
Oh my
didn't you
god,
realize it was a bad mistake after the first square?
Oh.
After the first square, you should be like, you know what? I fucked up.
Yo, it's the
Feel like you-
King's Gambit. He looks like a fucking chessboard.
Yeah,
What?
that's what I was gonna
Love
say.
your
You could play
children.
chess wherever you go. You could play some chess.
Yeah.
Love
And
your
the
children.
last one, this is my favorite. It's a belly button, not an ass. Don't worry. Well, I mean, the belly
Oh my
button.
God, is that the butt? Is the belly button the cat's butthole?
Yep.
Man, can't people just get drawings of these things and put them on the wall? Most tattoos should be just a wall drawing. Like, it should be a doodle in your sketch pad, not on your stomach. No! First of all, I'm not a cat person. Nothing against them.
I'm not a cat
We
person.
all know it's a fact. They suck your soul out at night through your mouth.
They,
We all know it's a
they-
fact.
You're the cat's pet. You know that, right? They run you.
Through your
That's how it works.
Exactly. Is that a man's stomach?
Yes.
I hope.
I hope so,
I hope
because
that's
there's
not
hair.
one person.
I mean, there was
Not
hair in
one
the belly
person.
button. I don't know. It could be anything at this point. Right?
God.
It could be a
Again,
Greek.
love your
it could be a-
children.
it could be Greek. I don't know. Remember we were saying about Greek people hairy. I don't know.
Well, we all know he likes pussy. I had to say
No
it.
pun intended.
I had to
I had
say
a
it.
feeling
That was
that's
for
why you asked.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Is that why you asked if it was a man or woman?
Yeah. But thank you so much, Jessimae. Honestly, this was fantastic.
God.
Honestly, we had
So
such a
So
laugh.
fun.
It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun, and I think we should all just stay in touch because you're doing many cool things, and just to even be in touch with you and
Absolutely.
to know who you are. I think it motivates not just us but everybody watching. So we want to just say thank you so much again.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys. Hit me up if I'm ever in your town when I'm on the road. Come to a show. Come
Yeah, I
to a
think
show.
you are coming to Chicago in like the summer.
I am.
So yeah, I'll
so
probably
hit
go to
me
that.
up.
I'm in Toronto. Are you
Yeah.
doing anything in Toronto or what?
No way.
Hey, well, I live in an igloo. Eh?
I don't think so. I've got to see what the travel is like there, but I will be in Canada at some
Okay, cool.
point.
And
Where are
whenever
you,
you are-
Gianna?
I'm in LA. I know you're out here often.
Bitch! You gotta come to a show.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm like literally already looking up tickets.
Oh, perfect. I got
I'll
you.
be
I
there.
got you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for
Awesome.
giving me a platform to share some information. And if anyone out there listening wants to, I can't get to every single email or message, but if you email me at jessimaepelusocomedy@gmail and you have questions or anything, and I have time, I'll reach out and help you and give you some resources.
Perfect.
And
And
check
we'll
out
put
Ask for Alts.
yeah, and we'll put it down below along with your Instagram and all your other platforms as well.
Awesome. Thank you
Alright.
guys so much.
Thank you
Thank you
Take
so
it
much. This
easy.
was so fun.
I love you. Io ti amo.
Mwah. Ti amo per sempre. Yeah.
Ti amo.
Arrivederci. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.